Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to do the full review of Gliss fishing line. Let's check it out. Alright, so today we're going to do that full review of the Gliss fishing line. If you haven't seen my unboxing of the Gliss fishing line that I did a couple of weeks ago, go ahead and check that out first and come back and watch this video. In the description, I'll also have a link to ardentoutdoors.com. It's where you can reach Ardent Reels, who makes Gliss fishing line. Check out all their products and pick up a roll of a spool of Gliss on your own. So let's check out a couple of these videos and see what I did to test it out and see how I liked it.
So these next few videos are going to be just a few casting videos. I was using a 1/8 ounce Booyah Pond Magic spinning bait, and this stuff really casted really well. The line is really thin, really smooth. I was actually casting further than I wanted to cast in some spots. This first cast is just the flick of the wrist and just tossing it out there, and it's going a good 15-20 yards. It actually surprised me on my first few casts. As you can see, throwing it out there, I mean, this stuff really sails. This is, again, a 1/8 ounce spinner bait, and it's going at least 40 yards, and that's not even at a full strength cast. It worked really well when it came to casting. So smooth. It could be a downfall of the line also, because I was overcasting and undercasting because I couldn't judge, how far or how short the line was going to go. With it also being so thin, when I would cast, sometimes the lure would hit the water way before the line did. Here I'm just, pinpointing little spots, trying to get it accurate. A little abrasion resistance testing here. That bush is actually covered in thorns, so I threw it over one of the limbs and was just kind of jigging it up and down over that limb to see if I could pull a fish out from under that bush. I could not. Here's a video where it cast out. You can see the lure hit the water and my line still falling, and finally hit the water. On a windy day, I could see that being a big problem. All around, though, I would rate this line probably an 85. If I were to judge between 1 and 100, I'd probably give it an 85. It worked really well, really sensitive. I was doing a little abrasion test and sensitivity test here. I had switched lures to a 1/8 ounce worm weight on a 3/0 hook with a 4-inch zoom trick worm. I'm just dropping it, technically punching these mats, but I don't have a heavy weight on. I'm just using a 1/8 ounce weight that these they'll go right through these weeds. They're really loose, but I could feel every little weed that was getting touched by this line. Every little bite, every little rock on the bottom. I could feel the sand on the bottom. Very sensitive line. The abrasion resistance also on these, just rubbing it up and down on these weed lines, I was trying to tear it up, is what I was trying to do. I was looking for fish, but at the same time I was trying to see how it would work, because this is how I normally work my braided line when I'm working in the weeds with the same type of setup. I'll throw it in there, I'll work it, it'll get hung up, it'll get pulled through, I'll run it through the weeds just to see if there's fish in there, because a lot of times, especially when it's sunny like this, the fish hide up in those weeds, and you'll see here in a bit I pull one out of there. But I run it through these weeds. I could feel everything on the bottom. It was really sunny, so these bass in this pond like to hide under these little mats of weeds. I was throwing it out there. Again, the line's really sensitive. I can feel every little bump, every little rock, every little weed it was touching. It's a fairly good line. I think I need to fish it a little bit more. I heard people in other reviews, a couple tournament anglers, saying that they run either mono or fluorocarbon and will only do about 50 yards of this Gliss fishing line. And I think that's probably a really good idea. I went ahead and put the whole 150 yards on that rod and reel combo that came with it. And that rod and reel combo works fairly well. It's a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel. It's fairly sensitive. It's a 6.6, so it's kind of short, especially for something like this, but it had a pretty sensitive tip for what I was doing. I really enjoyed it, especially for free. I mean, you can't pass up a $14.99 line with a free reel. So here's the first fish I hooked into on the line. I had been punching those mats for maybe 15 or 20 minutes before this guy bit, and it was a pretty good sized fish, probably about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds maybe, and the line was sensitive. I could feel him bite. I saw him start pulling line out, set the hook. It didn't have much stretch at all. In fact, I think it had a little bit more stretch than braid, but much less than mono or fluorocarbon line. It was really smooth setting the hook. It wasn't bad. In a second, you'll see the problems that I did have with the abrasion resistance. It did start to fray when I was running it through those weeds, which was a little disappointing for me. I was expecting it to be a little bit more abrasion resistant, but again, it's something that you need to learn to fish. When you get new line like that, even if it's a new fluorocarbon line from a different brand that you haven't fished, or a different mono or a different braid, fish it hard. Let it do what it's supposed to do. See how you like it. See what it does. Because if you cast it out there and it tears, it breaks, it pops, it knot slips, then you have an issue and you lose your fish. And you don't want to lose a 7 or 8 pound bass in some weeds or in a little thing just because you didn't test your line. The knot slippage on this was a problem because of how slick it is. I did have a big problem with knot slippage. I tied a double Palomar knot on here. On that spinnerbait, I tied a clinch knot, but I wrapped it about 10 times opposed to 6 or 8, and it held fairly okay. So I was using the 1/8 ounce weight. You can see a little bit of the frays, but the frays started happening maybe about, I'd say, 4 to 5 inches above the hook, and that could also be from just the weight slipping through and down it. But after that first fish and 20 minutes of fishing it in the weeds, I had to go ahead and cut the line and retie, which I fairly do in braid every once in a while.
Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video of the full review of that Gliss fishing line. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. After 50 subscribers, I'm going to go ahead and do a giveaway, and we'll try to do that every 50 subscribers. Guys, stay tuned. If you have any comments or ideas of lures you'd like to see tested, or line or anything like that, go ahead and drop it in the comments or email me at 5alarmoutdoors@gmail.com. That's 5alarmoutdoors@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the description. And we'll see you guys next time in Tight Lines.